Welcome to the Intentional Athlete Podcast, where strength is more than a number on the bar. I'm your host, Ross Leppala, powerlifter, coach, and co-creator of the Intentional Athlete Experience. This show is for lifters, movers, and seekers who know that what happens in the gym echoes into your life. We explore how to train with purpose, live with clarity, and channel the pursuit of strength into something deeper, something transformative. Each episode, we'll dive into conversation, tools, and insights that help you align your mindset, body, and spirit. Because real growth doesn't just happen under the barbell. It happens in your mind, in your breath, and in your choices. This is about more than just PRs. This is about presence, power, and progress that lasts. Welcome to the journey, my friend. Welcome to the Intentional Athlete Podcast. Welcome to the inaugural Intentional Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Leppala. Excited to have special guest Dr. Vanessa Gale on the show today. She's got to be the first guest. She's the co-contributor, the primary visionary behind the Intentional Athlete, and I want to share with you what that is. I want to share with you how it kind of came about. And it all started when we were on a bike ride after Masters Worlds last year. Off the win, excited, all the cool feelings are coming up about all kinds of different stuff and reflecting on the journey that got me there, all kinds of really cool stuff. And Vanessa's had a front row seat to see a lot of my evolution go through the years and go through struggles and find ways to elevate and be more present in different things. And so we're on this bike ride and Vanessa comes to a screeching stop in the middle of the trail like, oh, I got this idea. And if you know Vanessa the way I know Vanessa, she's always got great ideas. She is the visionary. She's a vision caster. She's a manifester and always has tons of great ideas. A lot of times I got to say, oh, no, not today, honey, because just can't do them today. But this was one of those ones that hit something deep inside me, and I didn't quite know what was about to unfold from there. But here we are. It's unfolding, and it was a great idea. And I said yes right away. So from your seat, from your perspective, what was nature infusing into your mind on that bike ride?
Yeah, right. When you go outside, it really does just clear your mind and open you up to possibilities. So that's what
Oh, yeah.
was happening. I obviously we had come home from Worlds on an incredible pinnacle moment of you winning not just your weight class and Masters world champion, but best lifter. So that was like just
Yeah.
totally incredible, heart opening, joyous moment of like goal achieved, like more than just a checkbox, it was like incredible moment. And so many of my friends and colleagues are like, well, what's next? What's next for Ross? Like with that big win, like what's he gonna do now? I bet he's gonna like blow up. And I was like, is he? Like, I was like, is that what's gonna happen? From a coaching perspective, like you're pretty full. Your roster's been full for a long time, or it's always close to full, and teetering on full. And it was like something bigger had to come through. Something new and extraordinary and different had to come through. And it had to be along the avenues of the things that you do outside of and inside training that makes your training so spectacular, because it's not the sets and reps. We all know that. It's not just doing the physical labor of lifting the bar. It is so much more. And the intentional athlete is what came in for me to share with the world and to collaborate with you. Like, we've never done a passion project together, and it was like just felt like the right time. Like, we've never been so much this connected. We've never had such like extraordinary life experiences as traveling to different parts of the world to have these incredible moments. And it was time to share that. Like, it's time to share our gifts in a collaborative way. And so the intentional athlete is what was birthed, and I pulled you over and I was like, just listen to this. And I was like, we can talk about all of the journaling things that you do, all the meditative practices that you do, the visualization. We can introduce all of the things that I help you with on the journey as well. The somatorespiratory integration that you do, that I do with you and I've taught you, and the network spinal as well. Like, how do we regulate the nervous system and give these athletes the tools for their nervous system to not just perform incredibly and recover incredibly for the platform, but affecting every aspect of their everyday life as well and improving their quality of life.
Yeah, totally. Because there's a really cool conversation I had several years ago with Mark Robb, and I had made this comment to him about having like this weird underlying feeling of guilt of having used powerlifting and training to like escape my problems for so long. Like, why am I doing this? What is the point? What's the purpose? And he brought up the point, hey, look at what you had to learn through these pursuits. Look at the diligence of effort applied to the pursuit that you had to learn. You had to use that same diligence for your mental health journey and for getting your mind game right. And it was at that point that it was like, oh yeah, there's so much more to training. There's so much more to get out of the training and the pursuit of strength than just a PR. And that started creating a massive shift in my relationship with training and my pursuits of it all into one, how do I get more out of my efforts? Because I'm putting a lot of time into it. Two, how do these efforts, not just more in training, but more off the platform? How can my on the platform experience fuel my off the platform experience? They ought to fuel each other. And if they're not, then we're missing something. We're missing a greater point and purpose. And like, that was part of the conversation of the intentional athlete. Why do you lift weights? When you're grounded in your why and you cultivate that, and your why can shift and change over time. But when you're grounded in that why, when training's not going the way you want it to, you don't fucking care. I mean, you care, but it doesn't make you want to quit. You can have a crappy bout of training and it not shake you. It will be an information. The poor outcome is information to create shift and change, but you don't take it personally anymore because there's a greater purpose and meaning. If you're just chasing PRs, when training isn't great, you're going to be down in the dumps. And that's no fun. As somebody who used to go through that wavering ride of progress, it sucked. It sucked. So shifting away from that is huge. And that's a big part of this. That's a big part of training with intentionality. And you seeing that vision and seeing me go through that to bring this to the table is huge, because there's seminars all over about technique and how to optimize your squat and how to write the most effective training and how to individualize training and how to do all that. But none of that shit to me is going to matter if you're not doing the other part of it. Like, this is a whole nother half of training that people don't talk about. And It's unfortunate because it's massive. It shifts a lot of things in life. What do you think blocks people and athletes in particular from seeing that vision, from seeing where that shift is?
Yeah, I think it's one of two things. And for most people, it's probably they look at training as like this escape from their problems in life. It's like, I'm going to go to the gym and blow off some steam. After I lift, I feel so good. And it's because they're not feeling good in their regular 9 to 5 or their home life or whatever. So they're like, gym is my church, or gym is like my therapy. Like, those are the things that people say. I hear people say that. And that is just not, that's one thing that people do. Yeah. And then the other thing I think is ego. And it's like, they are like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. Like, I'm strong. Let me see how strong I could possibly be. And so then it's just like all this external validation coming in of like, I'm so strong, I'm getting stronger. And then all of a sudden, because you're pushing to just be stronger physically, something happens, injury, something occurs. And all of a sudden you have a life, like mental crisis,
Yeah.
because your ego and the reality are not connected anymore. And so, like you said, like having intentional training is about connecting the bigger picture, like what is your why? And that's why in the Intentional Athlete seminar that we're hosting now, this like tight group, this like intimate group that we have together, we all start by the fire just having a focused conversation about our why and how that's going to be different for every single person at that seminar. Every single person who lifts is going to have a different why. And you might have a different why 10 years ago than you do right now, or you might have a different why in 10 years than you do now. It like me, you, obviously it's changed over the decades that we have been lifting.
Yeah.
And those are the big things. Did I answer your question? What was the question?
The what blocks athletes from being able to see this side of the training?
Yeah. It's the ego using training as therapy and then not having a why behind your training. Those three things I think are the biggest. And we've all been there. You know, like you talk about it before, like you used training as therapy, and
Yep.
I've used training to boost my ego, certainly. Like
Same.
that's how I certainly started training. So I'm glad it's shifted for me, and it's okay if you're there right now because
Definitely.
it changes.
Yep, it does. And thinking about it, how, like, because I've used it as both ways. And if we use it as a form of escapism, we're going to be training in a distracted manner. And that's going to diminish the quality of the training session and diminish the quality of the outcome. Because when we try to escape from something with exercise, we're not present with the exercise, whatever it is. In this case, powerlifting. And there's that operating program going on in the background that's still going. Work is so stressful. I'm so mad at my boss. It's still there. It's still operating in the background. So that's going to diminish the quality of the training, period. And when we learn to set that down and we learn to create the shift away from that, that's when we can be present in our training and we'll get more out of the training session, both from a progress standpoint towards our goals and PRs and from a what are we learning in this moment standpoint. And then like the ego thing and the identity thing and like, oh, I'm a power lifter, I need to do this and I need to get more PRs, and that egoic approach to it, you're going to have a really shitty time in training when things aren't going perfectly.
Right.
And most of the time, things are not going to go perfectly, period. And when we can shift away from that and we can train more intentionally, we aren't so wavered by the outcome of the training. And we can stand in it, we can play in it, we can move through it, we can accept it for what it is and learn from it. And if we are in that place where we're just chasing PRs and we're identity grounded into the training and we're chasing things, we're going to miss the learning opportunities, both
Totally.
from a training aspect, progressing towards those PRs, and a learning aspect of what is this moment teaching me for outside of the weight room.
Absolutely.
So we have to start creating this shift away from egoic training, away from chasing PRs, away from escapism, and start training with more intentionality. How do we start to navigate that shift? How do we start to create that shift for ourselves? What do you think about creating that shift?
I think it all starts with a choice and decision to say, I'm going to show up in my training to benefit not just my training, but my life, and vice versa. Or I'm going to show up in my life differently, and that's going to change my training as well. It's how you do all things, really. And in our practices, in your practice, and what we, practice of intentional training, and my practice of helping people with their nervous system and getting more connected to who they truly are. It is about the body. It's not just about the mind. We have to remember that the mind is the body and the body is the mind. Our nervous system is how we experience the world. It's how we interact with people. It's all the actions we do or don't take because of fight or flight, freeze, fawn, all these different responses that our body has, and therefore it changes our actions because of fear or whatever. And so it starts with choice. It starts with, I'm going to show up differently and I'm going to learn and improve upon these myself to have a better outcome in training and have a better outcome in life as well. And that all starts with really regulating our nervous system and getting clear on how we're going to show up on and off the platform.
Yeah. You mentioned regulate the nervous system, and I totally fucked up at the start of this recording and just glossed over the fact that you're a doctor and forgot to allow you the proper introduction so that people know what kind of doctor you are. Let's back up for a moment, shall we? And who are you, Dr. Vanessa Gale? Why are you a doctor of what?
Thank you. Well, I think if anyone's listened to your podcast before, I've been on a couple of times, but I am by trade a chiropractor, but a specific type of chiropractor called a network spinal practitioner. And we do a very specific, gentle, awesome form of chiropractic that is not just about getting rid of your pain. It is about helping you connect to your body, have more body awareness, improve your recovery, and ultimately express more of who you truly are in the world because your nervous system is regulated to a point where you can show up better and with more life force energy and more excitement for everything that you do because your quality of life is simply better. And it's not all about symptom relief. It's about asking the body, what does this symptom mean? And getting that message back and ultimately having a direction at that point of where to go from here. If you want to reflect on your journey through that type of care in this process, that's great because that'll give people an understanding of why I do what I do and why it's so important for the intentional athlete.
Oh, absolutely. Vanessa's my secret weapon. and a lot of the things that she brings to the table. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to find a way to collaborate on something. We had been wanting to do something like that for a long time and just needed the life experiences to help us create the vision for it, help you create the vision for it. We think about the shift towards intentional training. A way to think about that is when we're going to train, we're exploring things with a childlike curiosity. What am I capable of today? We start wondering what the possibilities are rather than forcing some kind of training stimulus.
Yeah.
And that's been huge for me, and that's been one of the biggest shifts is to explore my training with a childlike curiosity. And a lot of the stuff and work with you allows me to do that because we're for example, one of the things we do to start our day 2 at the Intentional Athlete Experience is Vanessa leaves a movement session. In this movement session, we need to be able to explore our body and be able to be connected with our body. We need to sometimes get out of our head and get in our body and be aware of where our body's at in space. And it's deeper than just, can I touch the tip of my nose with my eyes shut? Should be able to do that, but we want a deeper awareness. We want to be able to acknowledge where might there be some tightness? Where might there be some freedom to move? And if there is some tightness, how do I create freedom in that spot? Yes. And that practice and that awareness and your chiropractic tools and skills, my warm-up time is next to zero. All the fucking time. Most of the time. I might spend 10 minutes doing non-barbell stuff before I get onto the bar. A lot of times I do that more as an assessment than a warm-up, so to speak.
Yeah.
Taking the time to connect with myself and my body before I just start loading it up. Sometimes there'll be something that'll be talking to me that needs a little extra love and care and attention. Maybe my shoulder's a little like tight and I'll want to like spend some time mobilizing. Most of the time, not.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I probably could go in and just go right to the bar, go and loaded weight. Compared to thinking about where it used to be, especially back when mobility first started getting super cool and popular, there'd be like 40 minutes of mobility before I'd ever touch a weight.
Yeah.
That fucking sucks. What a waste of time. I mean, sure, if that's what you need, but I don't believe that that's something that most people need.
Right.
So
Our bodies
it
can
helps.
be more, Our bodies can be more flexible, more ready, more adaptable, and less stiff and rigid and in pain at a drop of a hat. Like our bodies should be these organic fluid beings.
Absolutely. And that's something we go into at the experience as well, is like passive tension, active tension, and talking about what that is. Because at the end of the day, this culture of we need to be a stiff ass power lifter because that creates a spring like effect and we can lift more weight is dumb. It's dumb. That's why you get injured, because you're carrying around too much passive tension and you're always a rigid asshole. We need to be able to relax. And like that doesn't mean we need to be what's a contortionist, the person you can
Yeah.
stuff and fold up in a box. That doesn't mean that that's the level we need to be. No, we need to be able to intentionally create stability of the joint, not unconscious passivity stability in the joint, because that stability is unreliable. We want reliable tension, reliable stability under our control.
Yeah. We talk about tensegrity, and having that strength through mobility is really what tensegrity is. It's like, how can we have an integral tensegrous structure that's going to hold the amount of weight on the bar that we need it to hold without breaking, buckling, or tearing.
Right. Exactly. And like the thing for me, the way I've experienced a lot of this unfolding is through these intentional training tools and through this shift and the exploring these things curiously. It's opened the door to more possibilities. And that's been like one of the big things that's allowed me to think about this from the lens of like, what am I learning in this moment right now while I train, while I suffer and endure this set of 10 in a hot Georgia day? What am I learning right now that I can apply outside? Because when we do that and we explore those things, that's when we learn that our training can elevate our life. And we're training as a person and as a lifter, not just a lifter. It's multi-layered and multi-contextual. And like I think about it because it's a little bit more recent in the journey with public speaking. I almost failed my public speaking course in college. I had a horrible time speaking in front of people, absolutely horrible time. A couple of years ago, I joined the group called Toastmasters, which is a public speaking, personal development course, so to speak. It's live in person. There's a bunch of layers to it. It's really fun. Powerlifting has helped facilitate that and has helped progress that. Powerlifting is uncomfortable. I have to embrace discomfort. Standing up in front of a group of people is uncomfortable, but I can do it anyway. So it's like I can do things while still being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Discomfort doesn't make me stop.
Yeah. Your level of adaptability to that amount of stress is high. You have the coherence in your system to show up in that way. And now you're even the president of your group. And it's not just any group either. It's like a high level have to audition for group. And he's not only just a member, but the president now. So he's talking from experience, and he's far exceeded his public speaking college professors or high school teacher. I don't remember what he said. Teachers' goals.
Yeah,
So amazing. So amazing.
definitely. It and none of that, like going through that, has added a lot of value back into powerlifting, added a lot of value into podcasting. But again, none of that would have been possible without going into training and learning how to curiously explore training. I would not have gotten to that point where I could have pursued public speaking adventures had I not created that shift in training. So that's like an example of like how when we create that shift in our training, how it's going to elevate other areas of your life.
Absolutely. I mean, look at just how it's shifted you as a father, a partner, and a man in general, and a coach. It's like people come to you because they know you're the guy, the mindset guy. You're not just going to be, people request to work with you because they know they're not just going to be getting the sets and reps. They're going to be getting this multifaceted layer of coaching that only you can bring, or you have brought to past clients, and you share it. And because you have a voice now, that voice is amplifying, and you're bringing more gifts, and people are changing. Their lives are changing because of it, and that's just totally awesome. I mean, I see it in just the way that you hold more patience and connection with Rosalie. It's like you show up differently because you are aware, and being aware is the first step of any journey, any healing process. You have to become aware of it first. You're like, oh, this is a problem. I'm not showing up in a conscious way. I'm showing up in a reactive way. And how can you show up in a way that's with connection and respond differently so that what you want to get out of the situation is even heard? It's really been it's amazing to watch how these tools that you're putting into practice and teaching others really are showing up and working in your life and the lives of others too.
Yeah. And which then elevates the way I get to experience life. If I'm able to have a pause and create connection with Rosalie before I just start barking commands and telling her what to do, like it doesn't just elevate like her sense of belonging as a child, it elevates our relationship.
Yeah.
And like I get to explore some of that stuff on the platform. We think about one of the things we talk about at the Intentional Athlete Experience is how do we transform that anxiety into excitement? Athletes need to experience that emotion. That emotion is energy. It's going to propel you forward. If you don't have mate day anxiety, go home.
It's not fun without it.
It's not fun without it. But the key is not to turn it off. The key is to shift it into excitement.
Yes.
And like, so that's how it shows up, right? Like here I am in lifting, having the opportunity to have this emotion, this emotional experience that for so many years was just meet day anxiety. And then I've learned to transform it into meet day excitement where I get to go have some fucking fun because this is a blast. And I realize, oh, what am I learning? I'm learning how to shift this emotion. I'm learning how to shift this energetic state within me. So now when I'm going and Rosalie's losing her mind because she's a little kid and doesn't have that skill yet, I don't have to respond to her and with her emotion with that same level. I'm able to go, I know how to shift this right now. I have that skill. I do it on meet day. How can I do it now? How can I do it here?
Yeah. And what that's really doing in your body is creating trust in yourself and your abilities. Like, I trust that I can get that third attempt. Like, you're trusting that the number you put on the bar is gonna fucking move because your body, you've channeled that anxiety into excitement and into trust and safety in your body. And it's the same thing you're doing with your kids in life. You're building trust in them. They trust you because they know you're not going to react and be unsafe. You're a safe person to communicate with because you have the regulation in your nervous system in any situation where you can transform anxiety into excitement, where you can transform anger into connection or concern. And those things, that shifts. Like anger is going to come up, like we're going to experience it, and you don't want to not experience it. You want to move through it, and you let your body feel it and ask it, what does this mean? What is anger really in my body? It's uncertainty. Okay. It's, let me check in a little deeper. Uncertainty about what? And it builds trust in yourself and in your little web of people that you're surrounded by, and ultimately out and ripples into the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So like that becomes a fun little experiment to play, right? And that curiosity and purposefully exploring training in a way that elevates you as a person and as a lifter, right? So like anybody that looks through my meat lift history, you'll see like a lot of missed third squat attempts early on in the career. A lot of the transformation of not missing as many third attempt squats is this ability to transform that anxiety into excitement, into energy, into productive energy. And using that skill then in life to have higher quality experiences. It, like Vanessa just said, it's not that the anger is bad. No emotion is bad. All emotions are valid. And it's not about the emotion. It's about how do you respond and react and make choices and move forward with that emotion as part of you. And I think circling back to the idea of like using training to escape, you are going to lose the opportunity to use training as an emotional development tool if you're using it to escape the other stuff.
Yeah. Beautiful. Exactly. And in the intentional athlete, in the seminar, we go deep with each person too about where it shows up in your body and how breath, energy, and movement all can transform those emotions and allow you to be with them so that you can move through them instead of avoiding them and move around them or stuffing them under a rug. Like it's about, how do I experience this fully and this full range of emotion that's available to us, and then show up on meet day or in life in an extraordinary way.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my closing thoughts that I want to share with you all, when we are able to go and explore our training with curiosity and we can develop that, one of the things that is doing for us is we're no longer taking the outcome personally. And when we can shift away from taking the outcome personally, we're not going to have this victimhood, childlike reaction to it when it goes poorly. We're going to go, why did it go poorly? What can I learn about this experience? What can I learn from this outcome? What inputs did I put into this system of this equation with multiple different variables, sleep, nutrition, mindset, attitude, sets, reps? What inputs did I put into this equation that contributed to the outcome, and what can I learn from that? But if we're not exploring it curiously, we're going to be too rigid and too fixated on a specific outcome. And when that specific outcome doesn't come along, we're going to take it personally. And that personal reaction of, oh no, it didn't go the way I wanted to, I'm so not good enough anymore, or something along those lines, boom, just blocked our ability to learn from that situation. And when we
Totally.
move through curiously and intentionally, we open the door to possibility in our lifting and in our life.
Absolutely.
Vanessa, how have you seen, as your, I guess, closing thought for, how have you seen this unfold from your perspective?
Well, I saw it in literally the last Intentional Athlete. I saw people come to this event that I think just trusted you entirely and had this vision of like, all right, we're gonna get to something really deep, and I don't know what it is, but I trust Ross, so I'm just gonna show up. And what I saw was like their level of curiosity expanded their consciousness, like expanded their realm of possibility so wide open that it transformed more than just their training. They all had like amazing training sessions, and like none of them were even like, I think, going for, maybe they were doing singles at an 8 or something, but it was like they were hitting like their best single at an 8 in a really long time, or they had like an amazing like rep PR that day or something. It was like stuff that had not been happening. And when you travel, training is not as great because you have all these other like you're not eating the same food, you're not sleeping in your bed, you're not drinking the right amount of water, you're flying, you're tired, you're in a different time zone. All those things are the variables that make it worse. And here they are having a better training day because of these intentional tools that we went through before the training session. And I just think it was so cool because when you open yourself up to that curiosity, something novel is going to come to you, something completely new and different and possibly even weird that's going to blow your mind and stretch you to a new version of yourself. And I've seen it happen with you. I've seen it happen with me. I've seen it happen with our clients, on and off the table, on and off the platform, depending on who we're talking about and who's working, how we're working with them. But it's just been such an incredible experience to see how people get out of their own way when they can build that trust in the anxiety, that trust in their uncomfortable feeling, and know that they're going to get through it safely and ultimately to a new, extended, great version of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that whole experience, I said it in the last Project Unchained episode, really hit me in a way that I wasn't prepared for. And that's where the curiosity comes in handy. When something comes up that you're not prepared for, you can lean into it a little bit more instead of fearing it. This required shift and change and a lot of other additional work on my part. And like I said at the event, like we did a lot of work. There was a lot of effort put into it, but because it was so aligned with what we've been cultivating for so long, it wasn't draining. And that was really cool. And that was just a moment for me that was like, hey, let's lean in. Project Unchained was great. It was a great experience for me, and it needs to be sunsetted, and we need to lean into the Intentional Athlete experience and the Intentional Athlete podcast. And who knows, maybe there'll be an Intentional Athlete bobblehead at some point in the future. Who knows? But I appreciate you joining us all here on the inaugural Intentional Athlete podcast. Vanessa, thank you so much for all that you do in my life. The care you bring, the love you bring, the visions you bring. I appreciate you more than I can express in words.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for hearing me and showing up with tremendous curiosity and unwavering flexibility.
Absolutely. And I appreciate y'all joining us on this episode. Hit me up. Let me know what intentional training looks like for you. DM us, tag us, give us your takeaways. We'll see y'all on the next one.